you can go whenever you want.
All right. Greetings, geeks. This week on episode 5, we will be talking about Garrosh Hellscream, new cows, giant cats, and more. Welcome to Geeks of Azeroth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. My name is Patrick, and joining me are the usual suspects, Jake and Tom. How are you guys doing?
Good here.
Well, thanks.
Well, let's see what's everyone been up to in WoW. We'll start with you, Jake.
I have not been up to too much in WoW. I am back to working 6 days a week for a little bit while we go through some interviewing and training for some new people at my job. So I'm working a lot more. I didn't really have any time to work on my legendary. I did dink around on the Timeless Isle a little bit, though. Actually played the character I boosted to 90 when I pre-ordered, because I pre-ordered and I basically never played them. So I'm messing around with them on the Timeless Isle, and I'm really enjoying that. It was a Paladin. So I have a Tauren Paladin I'm playing around with. My only... Actually, one of 2 non-troll characters I have on my account.
Breaking the trend.
But so, I was kind of second-guessing myself for having boosted that. I've always liked the Paladin, but just never stuck with one to max, and so I was like, well, I'll do it. I was kind of second-guessing myself, but now that I've been playing it, I'm having a good time. So, that's pretty much what I've been doing.
What about you, Tom?
I guess complete opposite to Jake. I've been working on the legendary quest, but to no avail. I probably pulled one of the noobish stunt. I can't even say the word. I was just a complete noob when it came to the quest. The Valor segment. 3,000 Valor it asked for. Didn't mention I had to get 3,000 Valor after accepting the quest.
Yeah.
So here I am, with half of it saved up. I think, I haven't got that far to go. I get an achievement for 3,000 Valor. That must be like a universal achievement outside the quest. If you just get 3,000 Valor saved up, you get the achievement, boom. No, I got 3,000 Valor last night, stayed up late, and was going to raid with Dracass after I'd got the Valor to try and get everything else. I get to 3,000, and I go, well, I've gone to the Tavern in the Mist, and there's no quest to be completed. I think, what's going on here? So anyways, I go online, I notice that you can track the achievement by typing in a macro. I type it in. I'm on 1905. Valor. So not only have I not got all the Valor, I haven't got enough room this week to get over 2,000. It's going to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I miss it by 95 Valor. And I just sat there and I gave up. I just thought I'll just take the time. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing next week in WoW. That'd be an interesting one, but I don't think it's going to be the legendary quest.
Well,
what about you, Patrick?
My time in WoW has been pretty scarce this week. There's a certain game that kind of came out on beta for the Xbox this week, and I was very intrigued by that. But I did play WoW for a little bit. Started leveling some tunes on a new server because I've been thinking about doing a little bit of a move. And I'm trying out at a role-playing server. And it's very interesting. Players come up and talk to each other. They just sit and talk in character, and it's not something I'm used to happening, but it's fun at the same time. But you have these, I don't know, these unique interactions of, greetings, traveler, you have any gems to trade with me today? No? Just leveling.
I think that's amazing.
Oh, but it's interesting, so I think I might have a new home over on Moonguard, US.
Oh, you chose
How do you
Moonguard.
respond?
What was that, Tom?
When someone comes up to you and says, greetings, traveller, I've come from a land far beyond your coast. Have you got any gems? And I'm not taking the mick. I've been on an RP realm before, and I actually found it really entertaining because, if anything, people are more friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one... I don't think you can role-play a troll Like, not a troll was in the race, but like just a nasty
Oh, yeah.
person.
Das Dingo! Yes!
But how do you respond? Do you find yourself just naturally falling into it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just leveling a Night Elf Druid, and, I was already into character, like, yeah, let me turn into cat, and we'll go hunt things, it's...
Oh, a mouse.
People aren't, rushing to level 90 to raid, it feels a lot more relaxed, and at this point in the game, that's kind of how I'm feeling, I'm not really hardcore into raiding anymore. I mean, I tried last week, but I'm more casual with my time, so I just want to be more casual with the game, and an RP server is the way to go. Everyone's just having fun. There was a wedding in Stormwind, I remember. That was interesting, to say the least.
You didn't bust in at the last minute and go, I object.
I don't know who you are, but I object.
Well, let's get on to our first segment of the show, Casting a Blizzard, where we talk about a few things going on within the week. And we're going to start off with raid testing in the Warlords beta. It was supposed to happen this week, but it got moved to Monday. Monday that'd be the 28th? Yes.
Right after the Destiny beta closes.
Yes. Well, what do you guys think about this? I mean, did you happen to see any of the beta so far? They did happen to test, I think, 2 bosses so far of the raid.
I haven't watched any of the raid testing. I usually don't watch a lot of videos of the beta. I just kind of read up, and so I mean, I was looking forward to that, and I'll just have to wait. So, no big deal for me, really.
I'm exactly the same situation. I'm not in the beta. I mean, it would be good to see these bosses because naturally, I think people. This is the thing people have been waiting for. Really, this is the content. Hopefully, the majority of people are going to be jumping into, given the new structure and everything. But I mean that. What Blizzard have said, it just seems their servers just weren't up to the standard they'd like, which is interesting, really, because I don't know how much more stress the raid environments put compared to sort of open world, but obviously there must be some sort of technical difference. But I guess it's just a few days to wait. It's not really that long, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching Fat Boss. They were live streaming. They were getting ready for the raid test, and well, they got maybe 2 people into the actual instance, maybe 2 or 3. It happened to be one of the people live streaming, so he got to run around the instance, and the instance is awesome. But they only had 1 boss and no trash, so he got to go kind of explore the whole first area of I forget the names of instances so easily. But it's the one in Nagrand.
Oh.
Yes, but that instance. And he broke the wall and actually, because Nagrand is locked off in the beta, but he broke the wall and actually was able to run around Nagrand before he finally fell off a cliff accidentally and died. But yeah, they were very unsuccessful. Nobody else could log in, everyone kept getting kicked off, so they weren't really able to get much testing. But it was cool to see the instance, at least.
I think there's been a lot of that, though. The Talador region was originally data mined based on is it hunters using Farsight?
Yes.
Give me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I thought it was.
No. Farsight is shaman.
Is it shaman?
Or hunt? We know a lot about WoW.
We know nothing about WoW. But nevertheless, people using Farsight. I'm pretty sure it was hunters, but I double guessed myself, so it probably is. But forgive me, I'm wrong. But they use that, and you can just see vast swathes of the continent apparently just by farsighting it. So it makes me wonder what people have seen and not been able to share because they don't stream or they didn't get a chance to photo it or something like that. I bet you some players have seen some amazing content that they'd love to say, I saw it, and everyone's like, nah, you didn't see that.
Well, and it's funny because like Nagrand, it's the only part that looks unchanged to me from Burning Crusade. And well, why would it? It's Nagrand. It was, except there's encampments everywhere.
Good old Nessing worries over there.
But moving on from that, this week we have a new race unveiled, or not a race, we've already had the male Tauren, but this week we get to see the female Tauren. And I've got to say, this is probably one of the most impressive changes I've seen so far out of the character revamps.
What's that?
Well, if we look at the difference here, and I'll pull it up here on the screen, there was so little texture with the original female Tauren, and so when you see the big difference here, I personally, I think it just looks phenomenal. Jake, what do you think?
I agree. As far as change from the original model to this one, it is one of the bigger improvements, I'd say. Which I think it's more saying that the original female Tauren was one of the worst models than it is saying, because this one, the new model is on par with all the rest. Mm-hmm. It's just a much bigger difference from the previous model than some of them have been. And yeah, I think it looks really, really good. Of course, there's complaints. There's always complaints, but
of course.
I've personally been happy with all of the updated models.
Right. When you look at the female Tauren without any armor on, the original one, you can just see how stretched the textures looked, and like a lot of the other classes didn't have that as much, but you could really see it with the Tauren, and they've fixed that up so perfectly. It looks so natural. Of course, just in line with all the other models that they're doing.
It's an interesting question, though. We had a couple of weeks ago Mike Morhaim's comment on how Blizzard had kind of dropped the ball on women in games, their in-game female characters, and how they hadn't really moved on from what was seen as sort of immature perspective of women in sort of scantily clothed and not necessarily realistic proportions. Do you think they're starting to get that right? Because I'm not seeing sort of, you can go online and look and Google images or something like that and see some of the old artwork is just crazy out of proportion women and everything. But they really have, one of their strong selling points of these new character models was that women, I'd argue the men aren't really in proportion, because everyone's been working out for about 40 years, it seems.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're massive, absolutely massive. Tauren and Draenei, they're just, I don't know, they must have a gym on the Exodar that's just packed, but it just seems the female character models, they're just getting a better balance. I don't know, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but I just feel a lot more.
Well, I think you can only say that really with a human female. I mean, because we don't really have anything to compare, female Tauren to, But
that's a good point. Fair point.
But I get what you're saying, and yeah, they are a bit more proportionate, more normal. If female Tauren were walking around today in the real world, I would expect them to look like this.
I'd also be scared and hiding.
Right, I'm like, where's the dark portal opening up? Where did you come from? You're supposed to be in Draenor, not here. Alternate time.
You were right about those textures. I'm looking at some of the old versus new, and my God, it's you just want to burn the old.
Yeah, I mean, especially that close up of the face. You look at that face right there.
It's really scary.
That's awful.
How have they gotten away with these models for the last 10 years?
Because we never look at them.
Right. Yeah, we just put masks on them, call it good. And who plays a female Tauren anyway? Just kidding.
It's a good point, though. I don't see that many of them.
I don't see that many. It's kind of like the rare troll warrior. You rarely see them. Even though we got Zool here, he has one. It's what I rarely see.
It's the only one.
Well, what's the other rare spawn? A female dwarf Death Knight or something like that. There was another rare combination there.
Yeah, it's a something like that. Yeah, female dwarf something or other. Rogue, maybe.
Yes. So, moving on from that. So, if you can log into your account before September 30th, or is it September or December?
September
30th, you can get your Horde Chopper for Warlords of Draenor.
Well, it's you flag your account to be able to get it when the game releases.
Keep in mind, you do not get it when you log in. You just flag your account. So that also means, if you're having an inactive account, you don't get this free mount that everyone was talking about.
Yeah.
So make sure you log on, people.
And of course, you can't log on unless you have a subscription in place. So I guess if you want it in time, you're going to have to resubscribe now.
Yep. And so I think that pretty much, I don't know about you guys, but to me that confirms that we're not going to see Draenor until at least October.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, I've heard speculation now that we might not see Draenor till January.
But they promised.
You cannot expect anything from promises because, obviously, we're not staying in, the Black Temple anymore. So.
Yeah. Well.
I don't think I think it will stick to the deadline, but I would be surprised if it launches more than a week before that deadline. I genuinely think they're just going to go. We'll just get it just before Christmas.
Yeah.
Done. But then there have been arguments contrary to that. Obviously, for elitist guilds who want to do the world first, you don't want them playing Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and it's more just along the lines of if we were to say this is a typical beta, it's going to last 6 months. But it could be a non-typical beta. But at the progression that we're seeing, obviously they can't even get into raids right now, or almost done with July and August. I think there's a lot more to go on the beta testing, so we're going to see a lot later release date than what I was predicting anyway. I was wrong, everyone. I'm not thinking September anymore.
What do you guys... Well, what I was going to ask, really, was, as an Alliance player, how does this affect me? Am I going to be able to use this on my Alliance character?
Nope. You got to have a Horde character. That is confirmed. And there's no indication that the Alliance bike is coming to the cast shop or in the game at all, which is it's kind of strange. There's people who are hardcore Alliance and now they're not getting anything out of it. Unless they, roll a Horde tune.
Yeah.
Are you guys excited then?
I am. Yeah.
I think it looks really cool.
That's all I can ask.
We have to wait so long,
Yeah.
and I think it's really weird. They're like, everyone gets it for free if you have an active account and log in by this date.
Yep.
I was like, wait, what?
It's almost like there's a gap between the majority of people getting their legendary cloaks and probably some other event or a lot of news around the beta access that would keep people entertained. They've got a gap and they feel, why would people log in? Oh, I know, we'll just chuck a free bike their way.
Yeah, it kind of it feels similar to when they launched that that 1 year plan when you got Diablo and Miss Pandaria. It's like they know they're losing subscribers now because they're not releasing anything, so they have to put something out there to get people to log into their game. And there are other MMOs on the market now, and there's big games coming out this fall, huge games coming out this fall. Especially hitting September, October area. So Blizzard's definitely has to do something here. So, yeah, log into your account and get a free bike if you're Horde.
Eventually.
Yeah, get it eventually.
How many people are going to use it though? It's a good question, because there's a lot of mounts that are obviously being tied into the expansion. You've got the molten core, not the molten core, the core hound
Right.
mount. You've got what I'm basically saying is this I think this chopper is effectively going to get pushed out the way eventually, just because by the time we get to see Draenor, I think there's going to be so many other options that people may or may not prefer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
that you may not even see it that much, to be honest. I worry it's just become a bit too much of a gimmick.
yeah.
Well, I know there are people that prefer using the bike mounts, and this definitely is the best looking one now, which I
Yes,
think might have some
definitely.
engineers upset.
I
'Cause
do
they're
love
like,
my
we
Mecha Hog,
used to be
so.
able to craft the good ones, and
They-
well, this is the best looking bike mount.
Blizzard should add in the Alliance bike as an engineer mount.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Oh,
Blizzard, again, if you watch our show at any point, you should listen to us because we have good ideas.
let's go 3 for 3.
And I only ask for small amounts of royalties in return. That's it.
Yes, $5 million.
So that's like that's like a point something % royalty to get that much.
It's like a day's worth of subscriptions for Blizzard.
Yeah.
So it looks like we should move on from here. Blizzard has been at Comic-Con. Comic-Con is still ongoing as we speak, I believe, or is it over now? It still goes into this today, right? Yes.
I think
Yes.
so. Yeah.
Yes. So Blizzard unveils a new product. They're just kind of their little toy line of stuff that they have. But it's a cool little statue here of Kerrigan. If I can pull this up here, it's pretty good looking.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
It's very detailed, and I for one, being a collector of stuff like this, I want badly.
And then they, what else did they unveil? They had the like shadow form of Diablo, the one you fight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Deathwing as well. On
Yeah,
the
I
just
love
a whole new
the-
line of stuff here.
The Deathwing pop vinyl is awesome. I love the Deathwing pop vinyl.
that
Oh,
that
God.
Deathwing though, that model.
Yeah, the
I-
big one.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I want one now. Right now.
Yes, I love it as well. So
What do you guys- Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, moving on, just to talk about other things that have been unveiled at Comic-Con. Have you guys been paying attention to it at all? I assume so.
Yes.
Yes. Blizzard has, Blizzard and partnering with Legendary Pictures, they're kind of making a little movie that involves what we like to talk about a lot. It's called Warcraft. A lot of things have, not a lot, but several things have been unveiled here, including props, and you can see this picture right here. This sword and shield. Look how authentic that looks. It is, my inner nerd is just raging to watch this movie after seeing these images here.
The freaking the Doom Hammer is
Yes, the
huge.
I can't wait to see that being held by a CGI orc.
Yes.
It's so pretty.
But that being said, though, there's also a new logo for the Warcraft movie, and there's a little bit of controversy behind it.
Yeah.
I don't know, Tom. You had something to say about the Warcraft title?
Well, a lot of people have obviously looked at this and they're a little bit not dismayed, but they don't understand why they've moved away from such an established logo and brand. And a lot of people have said, "Oh, now it looks just like sort of the Dark Knight Rises." One person who was commenting on this, actually, I won't be able to find. I can't actually read out this name. I can't read it. Can't read out that one. I'll call him King Tut. That's half the name at least. He said the current corporate movie pipeline says make everything dark and edgy, bro. The Warcraft logo doesn't look like the Dark Knight logo, so they threw it out and hired a hack artist to make this logo. I've obviously had to sort of paraphrase that, but effectively, I see what he means. They're trying to have something of their own identity in this without just thinking this is something we've made for Blizzard. I think this is Legendary trying to say, by the way, we're doing this.
Right. They have to have some difference between themselves and the actual storyline. But does this kind of look like StarCraft text to you? Because I see StarCraft in that.
It looks science fiction-y, I'd say, for sure. So
I think, if I'm just to offer an opinion here, I think it's to show the equal sides. We got the silver, the chromeness to represent the Alliance, and then we've got that burning red iron for the Horde. And they've talked about the whole time about the movie that it's going to be equal, Horde, Alliance, show both sides. I think, if I were to guess, I'd say that's what they're trying to just show with that title. Just showing both sides there.
yeah.
Failing that, they could scrap it and use this for the remake of Ruby Sanctum.
Oh man. So I did read an article that talked about the logo being different. And it wasn't talking about if the new logo is good or not, but why it does need to be different, and they can't just use what we're used to. And the article was written by a guy that used to work for advertising company that would help rebrand products, help them make new logos and change up their design and stuff. And basically the short version of the article was saying people that are fans of Warcraft they're already going to be seeing the movie.
Yeah,
they
of course.
they don't need to try to attract us. We're going to see it. We're going. What they need to do is they need to attract people that don't know about it, or people that know about it but don't really care about it one way or the other. You know, there's a lot of unfavorable stereotypes of World of Warcraft. And so they need to make a different logo because the people they need to attract are not Warcraft fans. We'll be there. That's a given. They need to attract other people, so they need to make it different to attract the general public. Because if only Warcraft fans went, even if every person that's ever subbed to WoW went, they wouldn't make enough money. They need to get more than just WoW players.
Yep. And a lot of that's going to be in how they market the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're going to have to really sell it with the trailers, and not just try and sell it to World of Warcraft players, like you're saying.
Yeah, one of the things that was said in the article, the guy said he wouldn't be surprised if the trailers and advertising never even mention World of Warcraft, or never even say based on the game, or never even bring it up. It's Warcraft. That's what it is.
And that makes perfect sense. And speaking of trailers, there had been long rumored that there was going to be one unveiled at Comic-Con. Well, that time has passed for Warcraft, because they've had their panel, they had their discussion. So, I'm guessing, at BlizzCon this year, we will see the first trailer for the Warcraft
would be my
movie.
guess.
Almost certainly.
And so I'm very stoked for that. You know, I think the movie's going to be great, but that's just coming from a Warcraft fan. It could go terribly wrong.
Hope it doesn't, but got to keep that in mind.
Right. All right. Well, moving on from the movie, because it is not World of Warcraft, it is Warcraft. Back to more WoW stuff. The Druids are getting a new cat form, and it is incredibly strange.
I think it's incredibly awesome.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. That's the word you're looking for there.
I don't know what to make of this, honestly. It's you know, I've got it up here. We're rotating around. It looks like Hulk cat, Saber man.
Yeah. Okay, so my main is a druid, and being totally useless to groups, my two specs are balance and feral. Just two different DPS specs. And I've been bouncing back and forth between those specs the entire expansion. I haven't been able to stick well, and I haven't decided. This is actually making me lean towards feral, because I think it's awesome in a really funny and just fun way. I love cats. Tigers happen to be one of my favorite animals. And guess what? Trolls get the tiger one, so... That's like a no-brainer for me. I was like, yep, that's the level 100 talent I will choose, and I will go feral.
Would you happen to say they kind of look like Worgen? I'm especially going through like their motions here. It's kind of like a bigger Worgen skin.
Well, they said it's based off of the there is a new like cat race on Draenor, isn't there?
Oh yeah, probably based off of those.
They said it's heavily based off that model, which is probably based off Worgen. I mean, the animalistic movements and stuff. You know, they have to borrow where they can, so they aren't constantly creating brand new stuff all the time.
I think it's awesome now, though, that druids in cat form will be walking upright. You know, they'll probably be attacking upright. I don't know if they'll use weapons or not.
You can if you look. If you pull up the model viewer they have on Wowhead, you can go through animations, pull up attack unarmed, and you can see they swipe with their claws, each side standing on their hind legs.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering, what I think would be amazing, is what if gear can be modeled on this, so you stay in your gear?
that would be a challenge for Blizzard.
I think that would be awesome, though. I'd be so happy.
You know, this is awesome, though. I mean, cool change here. You know, cat form has been the same, you know, since the dawn of time. So this is definitely interesting, to say the least.
This is only if you choose that specific level 100 talent.
Right.
Otherwise, you're still in the other cat form. And in some of the tweets, they mentioned that for now, it's just, you know, this single model per race, but they would like to make them have a little more variety and a little more customization, like the cat forms do now, where they change based on your hair color and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I know there's that glyph where every time you change, you go into cat form, you're a different color, so I don't know if that would work for this spec, maybe. But I think it's cool. Definitely interesting. Big man Hulk cat thing.
Yes.
Very cool. Very interesting. But moving on, we've got a big discussion topic this week. We're going to talk about thieves in WoW being punished like real criminals. This has been a discussion topic, going around the world lately. People are wanting to criminally punish people for stealing in-game items. Definitely a hot topic. Tom, why don't you kick us off on that?
Well, it seems the good old UK government has decided to bring WoW onto its agenda. It's not necessarily taking over all of Parliament, but one Conservative MP in the UK, Mike Weatherly, he argues that although there's a sort of view that perhaps in-game items aren't worth anything, he feels there's no difference between someone stealing your television, which is worth £500, or hacking your account and stealing all your, say, your entire gear could be stolen and sent to another character. It wasn't soulbound. If that gets said and it's taken £500 or dollars worth of game time based on, say, like a minimum salary or something like that, you should have a right to prosecute that person and charge them as if they had stolen anything else in real life. And a lot of people have been really liking this idea. Some people feel obviously it's maybe a step too far, but I think it brings up an interesting question, which is why can't virtual items hold the same value in the legal system as physical items? Because in this day and age, and I know it's a very cliche thing to say, but digital items, if anything, are more useful and more valuable than their physical counterparts, I'd argue.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It is a very interesting topic, but with how technology is evolving so rapidly, and stuff like Bitcoin is becoming more popular, virtual currency. Who's to say what? You put all this time into earning this currency in the game. It's kind of like a job. It's yours. It belongs to you. You pay for the game. You spent your time earning it. So why shouldn't someone be punished from taking that from you?
Exactly. What do you think, Jake?
I agree. I think that, at this point, people spend so much of their time online that is real things of theirs. To me, it would be like, what if someone came into your house and stole your physical copy of a game? They're doing the same thing. They're stealing part of something you've paid for and you've put time in from you. Just because it's digital doesn't change anything. Lots of stuff is digital now.
Including money, which, to be honest, if anyone stole from your PayPal account,
right,
there'd be no question over it.
It's digital property that translates into real world value.
And that's exactly like what gold is in WoW. It translates to real world value. You put your effort into getting it, and it belongs to you. And I know there's a lot of controversy of it because a lot of people don't understand. They don't have anything like this, so they just think it's, silly nerds who play their video games that want their gold back. I don't know. It's interesting.
I was going to say, though, do you think it causes more problems than it's worth? Because obviously, Mike Weatherly, this MP in question, he is a WoW player. That's why it's come under sort of the WoW heading. He plays WoW, he's subscribed, and he's taken this to the Minister for Justice and taken it to Parliament. But naturally, in this digital world, it's things like World of Warcraft obviously stretch much further than the jurisdiction of the UK government, and I don't want to use too many serious terms and things like that. But how would you police this? Do you think? What if say the UK government had a very exactly. But what if say the UK government took this very harsh stance and went, yeah, exactly, that virtual items and physical items should be treated exactly the same, and then the US went, well, actually, no, there's a difference there. And say an American stole something from a UK gamer, how do you? It's a whole other question of legality here. I don't think there's there's not a question mark over the nature of stealing, I think, universally, but what counts as stealing or what can be stolen, I guess. There is a bigger question.
It's one thing if, you have a guy who says, hey, give me 50 gold and I'll run you through this, and then he takes off with your gold and doesn't do something for you.
Exactly.
Or you have someone who hacks into your account and takes all of your stuff and then, deletes your character or whatever. Those are two different scenarios, completely different scenarios. And it's how do you, how would you come to the decision what's legal and what's illegal? How do you define that line there? I mean, obviously, hacking into someone's paid-for account, that's illegal. It's already illegal. But as far as other ways of making it illegal, like, that said transaction of stealing someone's 50 gold, how would you police that? Like, such and such stole my gold, I want him arrested and fined, and I'm suing him for all his assets. Maybe?
It's just too much.
Yeah.
I think Obamacare's one thing for your president, but I think policing internet gold exchanges through auction houses and all that it's too much.
I think it's too much government in our games. Get
out of our games, government.
But at the same time, people want justice for their gold being stolen. So how do you police it? It's an interesting question. Something I don't really know the answer to because I don't have a law degree.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, this should be punishable, this should be done.
Mm-hmm.
How to do it is totally another.
I mean, because you can't just have in-game, officers of the law,
investigating.
Yeah.
Looking for clues.
Even though we know the NSA has already been in our game already watching us. We could just find them and ask them for help.
I just want to know how confused they were. Because they probably assigned people
what does
I've never played a game.
lo mean?
Exactly.
They're just hanging out in trade chat.
Yeah. They have to get counseling after that.
Anybody who hangs out in trade chat needs counseling.
Yeah.
There was a great comment I saw months and months ago that apparently the NSA was hanging around Silver Moon City. That's where their spies would hang out because no one was there. So you'd log in and you'd share information and do things that way. And I love this idea that the NSA hid in Silver Moon City because no one would find them.
But is that what it would have to come to? We'd have to have secret agents of Warcraft, and other such games hiding out and waiting for.
Can I get
thieves?
that job?
Right. I mean, isn't that what the Blizzard CMs are for? Or not the
much.
CMs, but the GMs?
They have to play
I think
suits with sunglasses.
I think we've got the plot for Die Hard 6.
It's all
into Azeroth.
WoW. The entire movie is within WoW.
I hope Bruce Willis is up for this.
You just see running into walls and spinning in circles and not able to move.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Oh boy.
Yes, but it's very interesting again. I don't know, anything else you could say about it? Because I don't know. It could go. It's a very open-ended topic, really.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, just because I think, especially now, considering accounts have so many items that we're buying into our accounts. I mean, WoW has never had such a payable item base before, like mounts and all sorts you pay for it. So I guess really it hasn't been a relevant question as much until now.
Mm-hmm.
Said something.
Yeah. Well, moving on. We will find out later on. I'm sure some kind of verdict will come down the pipeline eventually on this topic.
Not in our government, it won't.
Well, that will be the verdict. No verdict could be a verdict.
Yeah.
But some smaller discussion topics here. Are heroes more trouble than they're worth? I don't know. Jake, do you want to kick us off on this topic?
Sure, yeah. So, it's basically based on some little articles and stuff saying we tend to cause a lot of problems where we go in-game. We our characters in relativity to the rest of Azeroth are incredibly powerful. As can be seen, we're taking down godlike figures. just running around, throwing these powers around that are insane, and we don't really care much about any collateral damage we do uh, on our way to doing that. Yeah, we stopped Deathwing, and what else did we do in the process, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's interesting because it gets brought up a lot in superhero comics now, too.
Right, yeah, they'll cause mass destruction. Has anyone seen Superman? The newest Superman?
Man of Steel.
Yeah, Man of Steel. Yeah. I think he killed 10 million people trying to save the world.
He killed more people than Zod did.
Right, but I guess you do run into the same problem here. You know, and people have brought up, you know, the Veil as a big example, but that's not our fault. We did not cause the Veil to turn black.
No, that is your fault. Horde people, that is your fault. We put him in charge.
I'll put him in charge. We had no vote in this.
I was with Vol'jin. Vol'jin wanted to take him down the whole time.
Yeah. But it's definitely interesting. Are we too... I don't know. Are we more trouble than we're worth? I mean, how much trouble have we really caused? You know, we kind of break things in our way, but I don't know. Aren't we trying to make the world better?
Yeah, that's something the article brings up. But you know, look at all the stuff we're doing. But what would have happened if we didn't stop Deathwing?
The world would be destroyed.
Instead, it's only partially destroyed.
Exactly. That just brings to mind, kind of unrelated, but you have to think everything that has happened in World of Warcraft has been, you know, all in the span of like 10 years, you know, kind of real time of this world. You know, orcs
10 years.
Orcs have only been in Azeroth for roughly 30 years. You know, put that into perspective of everything that has happened in the Warcraft universe. Everything just one thing after another. You know, you get back from killing the Lich King, and oh, here's Deathwing. You know, it's
and a new land with Shah.
Garrosh is angry.
Yeah.
It's been one thing after another, really. So we don't really have much of a say in the matter. We're really just trying to survive as heroes.
However, what about all those times, though? And I'm thinking of a very specific thing. All those times you've gone to somewhere. In my case, it was Deepholm. You've been called down to Deepholm. You spoke to Thor, and he's gone, "My God, the world's going to collapse unless we get down there." You go down there, and everyone's like, "Thank God you're here. We need your help. You're the only person in all of Azeroth who can help us. We need to build this pillar back up. Otherwise, the world's going to just... It won't even be worth saving after it's done." And your hero goes, "I'd love to, but really, I'm level 84. I should be in Twilight Highlands fixing all that. Yeah, I'm going to go out there."
Yeah.
And you just fly off. And they're like, "Oh, I guess we won't."
We'll
fix
stand
the
here
world
with
pillar."
these exclamation marks over our heads until we're ready to get Lore Master.
Wait for the next hero, I guess. But I think it's more a case of negligence. I mean, how many characters saw Deathwing go by and go, "Nope, still got heirloom gear, I can ignore this."
I don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I didn't see the heroes helping the workers to build Stormwind back up. We don't really... We're more like a blunt axe or a hammer. You just get thrown at things and then...
As far as that goes, you know, negligence goes, we're seeing a lot of change to that in Warlords with how questing works, you know, with all the solo scenarios and stuff, so you have to make a change to the world. You are a part of this, damn it! You know, so... I think they're trying to fix that a little bit so people feel more involved with the storyline. But again, you know, we're just causing trouble for someone else's world that we're just popping into through a portal.
Well, like, another aspect on this, sure, it might be that if, you know, we hadn't stopped, you know, what was going on, it would be worse. Yeah. But then, kind of like what Tom was saying, we just mosey on away. We're like, well, we're glad we stopped that. Good luck rebuilding. Peace out.
Right, yeah.
Instead of hanging around to help with the recovery effort.
Well, how would you have? Would you have players just stand in Orgrimmar with pickaxes, just fixing the buildings? You know, like...
You get some XP for it. You earn a special. We'll just make up another currency for recovery efforts.
That would be a good way to add content to the game. After the Siege of Orgrimmar, you have to rebuild Orgrimmar.
And you get special currency for doing charity work that you use for transmog gear.
Yes. It really is just a bunch of cloth rags, but...
Yeah, it's like, here's work overalls and a hard hat.
Work.
But after obviously Garrosh just wrecked the Veil, obviously the Pandaren sacred zone.
Yeah.
We've just decided to have the occasional one-on-one sparring match with the Celestials and just sort of hang out. we haven't made a single bit of effort to go, we're really kind of sorry for what we've done.
Really, we're like, all right, peace out. We're leaving. This is your guys' territory. We realize this now. We'll leave it to you. Goodbye.
Exactly.
And they're just stuck like, what do we do?
You burned everything down.
And even like the trial afterwards. The moment they had the trial, the Pandaren, if anyone, were due to have that trial they deserved it. And then what happens? It all goes to pot, and then we're like, we better go to Draenor and sort that out.
All the orcs come in their zeppelins and stuff and start bombing the Temple of the White Tower. I mean, it goes crazy. If you've read that book, you know it's
Exactly.
quite a battle that happens up there at that temple.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And again,
And the
just
only
another
question
problem. We're like, oh, he's in a portal. Let's go.
Yep.
Exactly.
Peace out. And then, like Tom said, we sit there just, having the occasional little match with their Celestials. They're like these beings that they revere, and instead of letting them be there to help with the Pandaren, we're like, no, we want to fight with you and stuff.
Well,
we just want to hang out, brawl.
Well, theoretically, though, it is actually getting repaired if you think of lore-wise, because according to the lore, we actually don't know where Garrosh is. The leaders of the Horde were sitting around waiting for that moment when the Dark Portal is going to open up and he comes pouring through, and then we have that realization. That's where he is. But so, repairs could be happening in the spare time, but Blizzard just doesn't really have a way of forcing lore onto their players. They don't want to do that because, there's people who just aren't interested.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if you read the books or you're keeping in touch with lore, then things are getting repaired in the spare year we've had with Siege of Orgrimmar. Because really, that did not take a year for us to kill Garrosh.
We haven't been sieging it
felt like
forever.
That would be ridiculous, though. Moving on, though, we're going to move on to our other segment called Lore Lords of Draenor. Get it? Lore Lords? And
We're the only ones laughing right now.
Everyone's like, God, these people.
And this week we're going to talk about Hellscream. Garrosh Hellscream.
Ooh, good snapper.
He is the father of, the big bad of Miss of Pandaria, Garrosh. And he's got quite a history. He's actually considered a hero in the current lore timeline. He is what brought down Manoroth, the big old demon who was going to bring all end to everything. And Grog,
Even though he was also the first one that drank the blood.
Right. He was the first one tainted, but he also saved the world, so you give him a bit of credit there, Jake.
I am. I'm just saying. He wasn't a faultless hero.
No, but Garrosh, he was the chieftain of the Warsong clan. He was a powerful blade master and best friend and chief advisor to Thrall when they first came over here. He was the first orc who drank the blood of Manoroth and binding the Horde to the Burning Legion. And he would eventually pay the ultimate price and free himself and his people from the curse. So, he is the savior, and Garrosh always wanted to live up to his father's reputation. And then that kind of builds where Garrosh went with his leadership of the Horde, is he just wanted to live up to what his father accomplished. He wanted to make his father proud, even though his father is dead.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to be going back to Draenor, and I have a feeling that Garrosh is not going to be on our side. Something tells me.
Well, I mean, even before drinking the blood and everything, the Hellscreams and the Warsong clan were known to be more warlike. I mean, they were the Warsong clan. I mean,
that is kind of where the orc pride really comes from. The orc is master race. It comes from the Hellscreams. They're the ones who've always driven that. They want orcs to be the most powerful, and in Draenor they are the most powerful. I would say orcs probably are a bit more stronger than Draenei.
Just because of sheer numbers.
Yeah. But, and again, if you have read the newest book, and if you haven't, sorry for spoilers, but spoiler alert, the very last section of the book, last paragraph, Garrosh has stepped through the portal and he's breathing in the fresh Nagrand air, and he hears someone yell, "Hellscream!" with waving Gorhal in the air. So he immediately steps into Draenor and meets his father.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah, that's
interesting.
one of the first people he sees there.
So we can kind of assume from there that Garrosh and his father are coming up with this plan, to build the Iron Horde. But now that I think about it, is there going to be a second Garrosh? Oh God!
What in in Draenor?
In Draenor, yes.
I don't think there is.
Is this before Garrosh was born, perhaps?
Yeah.
Possibly. So he's going to be the same age or
Okay.
similar age as his dad.
Interesting. No, that would be a trip, wouldn't it? Hi, Dad.
Hi, me. But it's interesting that in some of the beta quests, there's a scene where you get a sort of flashback and you see Ner'zhul, who we talked about not last week, week before, and Garrosh and his son. Wait, we've got Garrosh and Garrosh.
Oh, his son. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm trying to, because they're both the same. I keep thinking. You get to see this little discussion they're having, and Grom's not satisfied that Ner'zhul's doing enough to help the Iron Horde. So, and that leads to sort of the demonic presence. But in that scene, you see that Garrosh he's wearing bandages. He looks pretty beaten up. So a lot of people have speculated. On one end, it's because of his injuries he suffered in the siege, but it's also because Grom has been basically putting his son through the paces and trying to make him the warrior that Garrosh kind of wants to be.
I can even see something, because Blizzard has already said that we're not going to fight Garrosh as a main boss again. I could see Grom killing Garrosh. You're a disappointment to me, son.
Yeah.
Definitely see it going that way, and that would be very interesting.
You can even kill these weaklings.
And we know that in our version of the past, Gul'dan was manipulating him the whole time. That's what got him to drink the blood. So I'm wondering if we go back at the same time, if Gul'dan's going to be trying to work his magic with Grommash again, or if Garrosh is going to steer him away from it this time.
So hey, he messed you up a little bit last time.
He turned you green.
There's also, I guess we should really talk in a way, sort of bouncing off Grom. Obviously, Gorhal plays a massive presence in the story chain, and one of the big things toward the end of Siege was that Gorhal kind of got thrown aside, which naturally I imagine may be a reference in the coming story about how Garrosh would have disappointed Grom because he had to turn away from sort of that legacy.
That might piss off Garrosh a little bit.
You didn't keep my axe?
Why don't you have Gorhal?
Saying that, he did have a pretty cool axe at the time. I can see why he gave it away. But do we know where Gorhal is?
Well, it was left stuck in the floor in Siege of Orgrimmar. Right after you kill Shah of Hatred. Pride.
Oh, Pride, sorry.
Yeah, that's where Gorhal is. It's just stuck in the ground in there. Obviously, Garrosh took his power of Yorsaj and stuck his Gorhal and said, I don't need this anymore.
I think that, what they should do, they should have it, in display in the throne room with Vol'jin when they update Orgrimmar, so he's in there as war chief.
I think Vol'jin should just have it. It's his weapon now.
You should use it as a toothpick.
This is nice, I'll just use this.
I like ranged weapons, though, so I'll just throw it at people. Yes.
And then when he throws it, it'll be spinning and be making the howling sound. That'd be pretty terrifying, actually. There's a screaming axe flying through the air at me.
It'll be a new hunter weapon, a throwing axe.
If hunters could use throwing weapons, I would be so happy.
Yeah, but so Grom is definitely an interesting character to pay attention to. I believe he will play a really big role coming up, because I believe he's going to be the centerpiece of the Iron Horde. More so than his son, I think Grom is going to be taking control here. He may be a final boss or, major boss coming up. I haven't seen any dungeons mentioning Grom as a boss, so...
Well, there was...
He's got to be great.
In
BlackRock Foundry, I think, maybe.
no, last week when we were talking about what were the two zones?
Talador and
Gorgrond.
Gorgrond.
But Talador, that's where Chatrath is, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And remember they talked about how Orgrim and Garrosh will be... Was it Garrosh? Hellscream? That they're going to be fighting in the city?
Oh,
Yes,
right, you're right.
I
Orgrim
think you mentioned that, didn't you?
Yeah,
You said about
yeah.
how cool it would be to see that.
Yeah, and because it says that they will be fighting in the city, like a huge epic battle. So we know he'll be there.
Yeah, definitely be interesting, and I'm very interested. Maybe they'll kill him there. Maybe not. I'm predicting him to be a very centerpiece here with the Iron Horde, but then it's also been predicted that the Iron Horde's going to get smashed in the first tier, and then we'll move on to something else. You know, kind of like we did with Mists of Pandaria, but. Who
Yeah,
knows?
but like out of the old Warcraft games, Warcraft 1 and 2 and everything,
Yep, Grom was still a big piece of
Yeah.
the storylines.
like he was one of my favorite like chieftains of the clans in those games.
Mhm.
And will eventually like one of my top 3. And the other 2 will be featured in Warlords. They are 2 more of the the main ones, and so we'll get to them one of these other weeks.
In Lords of Draenor. All right, moving on to this segment, The Prince's Gaze. This is a segment where we look at the community to see what they've been up to, and we're going to look at some machinima. Westfall Pumpkins? What is that all about?
Well, the link is on WoW Insider for anyone who's interested, but we're going to play the video in a sec, hopefully.
Yes, we will.
But Westfall Pumpkins is a tale of not-so-friendly competition between 2 determined farmers entering into a pumpkin growing contest. Like any good rivalry, the pair are in no way content to let the other do their thing and just can't bear to be outdone. In Azeroth, though, we know that nobody is content to let nature simply take its course, and so alchemy, magic, and an impressive judging panel rule the day in this entertaining tale of gardening gone wrong. Whose pumpkin will take home the blue ribbon? You'll have to watch to find out.
All right, so stay tuned for 3 minutes and 30 seconds of pure WoW machinima goodness. There we go. Yeah!
Over here.
What?
Whoa.
Oh, whoopsie.
No! No!
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Nope,
No,
doesn't count.
not
Ripped in half.
I'm just no. I'm sorry.
What you got, Big Shot?
Oh no.
Not gonna happen. It's gotta be a full pumpkin, not a pile of crap.
I'm just not.
Oh,
my.
now that's a pumpkin right there. That's a beautiful pumpkin, if I do say so myself. Give you first prize. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Congratulations. You've won. It's a great pumpkin. Congratulations, buddy. You go in first place.
Good stuff. Good stuff. That was quite the pumpkin.
That was amazing.
Good job to Nixium Machinima. Great job. Very funny. Very entertaining.
Can also add as well that was Nixium Machinima's entry for the BlizzCon 2014 movie contest, and the actual entries, he sort of preempted the entries in a way. The BlizzCon 2014 art and movie contest sign-ups are going to be coming soon. They're not open yet, but they will be. However, I believe the costume contest is closed, so there are still competitions being opened up. So if you want to do something similar, why not get involved?
Yeah, the Machinima contest, doing that's always fun, and it's not just Machinima. You can do a music video or, something else pertaining to WoW, anything like that, or StarCraft or Diablo. Yeah, it's always fun to watch all that stuff happen, and I'm gonna try and make something myself this year. Enter it into the contest, should be fun. But moving on, some little topics here. The Iron Sky Reaver. By the time this publishes, this deal could already be over, but it is 45% off this weekend only. Looking at $15 US. I'm not sure what that translates over to UK money.
£10.
£10. That's a pretty good deal. I actually picked it up this weekend because I've always wanted that mount, and hey, it's $10 off. Might as well.
Why not?
I love the way it flies, by the way. If you haven't played with that mount, it sways and it flips over midair, and it's pretty entertaining. It makes flying feel a little different.
You can enjoy it for the next 3 months.
Yes.
While you can still
I'll
use
just
it.
fly around in circles and just enjoy flying while I still have it. Well, that's I think that's about it. I think we've wrapped up our show this week.
I was just like, I think we're about done.
Anything else anyone can think of?
I don't think so.
Not particularly. I think I'm excited to. When the BlizzCon virtual tickets gone on sale yet?
No, they haven't. I'm not quite sure when they'll announce the virtual ticket price. It'll most likely be the same price as it's always been. Yeah, but I'm sure that'll get announced much closer to BlizzCon.
And
Come on,
start
please.
announcing what you get with it, type of thing.
Yep, we're getting closer and closer. BlizzCon is creeping up on us, and we know there's going to be some big stuff going on this year.
Yes.
You excited, Patrick?
I'm so excited, so very excited. I've got my fingers crossed that this year we will finally hear something about Blizzard's new IP.
Yeah. Find out what they're doing
Because
there.
we all know they've got nothing to talk about World of Warcraft this year.
Yeah.
Or
I
Diablo
wonder
for that
what
matter.
it is. I wonder where their new IP will go as far as genre and stuff, because they have Warcraft is their sort of high fantasy. StarCraft is their sci-fi. Diablo is their dark fantasy.
I could see them actually going more with a realistic tone for a game. More.
Yeah, I was
set
thinking
in-
like a modern type thing.
But I also don't think it's going to be primarily an MMO. I think we could see, with games like Destiny coming out that are game changers. I think Blizzard has to make a game changer. So I think that's what we're going to see
Something
here.
different. Well, I think a lot of companies are starting to do new stuff. Did you guys see BioWare's new teaser?
Yes.
Totally different for them. Like
Yeah.
this, what really happens when you're asleep?
Yes,
Freaking-
that's
I
used
got
to
that
Star
email
Wars and
from
Mass
Blizzard.
Effect and whoa,
I
what
got
is
that
this?
email from Blizzard or from BioWare. I got the email from BioWare and I opened it up, and I was just in my room. It was like, middle of the night. I was like, oh, I'll check my email. I watched it. I was like, what the crap was that?
I can't sleep now.
That's terrifying.
BioWare is so good with their storytelling. I'll definitely be interested to see how they do with a horror story.
Yeah. Watch Blizzard come out and do a horror one, too.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Blizzard's horror story.
I think it's going to be Sims.
Ooh, Sims 5 developed by
Brawl and
Blizzard.
Jaina move into the same house, and you've got to run the house.
I can see that for an April Fool's joke, definitely.
That's what garrisons are going to be. They're going to be Sims.
Maybe their new game is Warcraft 4. Who knows?
I was just thinking that I would not as a new IP necessarily. I'd love to see a revisit to the RTS.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
it would just be so
instead
cool.
of StarCraft 3, I think whenever they move on to their next RTS, I think it should be another installment of Warcraft, for sure.
Yeah. The only question with that is where would it fit in with the storyline?
I can definitely see it, since rumors are their new game is a new MMO, or an MMO of sorts. I could see Warcraft 4 coming along towards the end of WoW.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm.
So it could continue the storyline from there.
Yeah, that's the only thing that would really make sense to me as far as another Warcraft RTS is when WoW was done and it would be like the next part of the story.
20 years from now, when Warcraft is finally done.
50.
When WoW is down to a minuscule 100 players. Only then will
I thought
they
you were going to
shut
say
down.
100,000. Minuscule 100,000.
That brings up an interesting topic here to just close out the podcast with. When do you guys think Warcraft will finally kick the bucket? WoW, anyway, not Warcraft, but WoW.
Yeah.
Because these movies are going to usher in a whole new era of Warcraft when you think about it.
Yeah. I really don't know. I mean, if they can just keep updating the game the way they're doing right now, they could just keep it going and going.
Yeah. I really do think the
Yeah.
movie is going to bring in a new fan base. If not for WoW, but for Warcraft in general.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on your definition of end. A lot of people would consider the end of World of Warcraft as it loses its title as the top MMO.
Sure.
Like once it dips below something, then they'll be like, "Oh, Warcraft's done." But I think I agree with Jake. I think you could just keep it going and going and going as long as there were like at least say 100,000 people who just wanted to kick about, and I think there will always be that player base.
Yeah. I'll be there until the end.
Yeah. Us three will be there.
Yes.
Making a podcast about it.
Maybe even playing the Tauren female.
Maybe. Just to spice things up a bit. Well, that concludes it for this week's Geeks of Azeroth. Anybody have any shout-outs to friends, family, guild members, etc. that they would like to mention here before we kick the bucket for the week?
Nothing specific this week, I don't think.
I've got my guild, Elders of Time. We're hopefully going to be moving on to normal content, normal Siege soon. So
cool.
Shout out to them because they're actually working really hard. A lot of people are going through multiple runs a week just to try and catch up. So, cheers for catching up, everyone.
I'd love to give a shout out to the level 3 Night Elf Hunter that I met on Moonguard. I had a great conversation with you. Hopefully I will see you out in Azeroth in the future. And that's it for Geeks of Azeroth. Stay tuned next week for episode 6 where we talk about I Don't Even Know Yet. Have a good week, everyone. Enjoy your time in Azeroth.